Sarah,
Yeah, we're
please
gonna
come here,
start.
please. Please come here.
We're gonna start in just a few minutes. I'm coming up. Right over here, you'll read, okay? Yeah, I need room. Here. We're gonna get started in just a few minutes, okay?
Sarah, try.
Josh and Adam, you wanna come?
Sarah, keep doing it.
I don't know. We are here today to honor the life of Fela Groner. And we're here to offer comfort to her entire family. At this time, if you have a cell phone or any other electronic device, if we could please turn those to the silent mode. Officiating today for our service is Rabbi Meir Moskowitz.
We are gathered here this afternoon as we bid farewell, mourn the passing, and recognize the life of Fela Groner. In Hebrew, the word for a funeral is levaya. Levaya means to accompany. Unlike the English word funeral, which means finale, the end, in Judaism we highlight that this is merely accompanying the soul of Fela from one world to the next. So it's not the finale, it's not the end, it's the moving the chapter from one reality, from one world to the next. We'll begin with reciting a chapter in Psalms. First recite a chapter in Hebrew, and then we'll say together a chapter in English. Mizmer LeDavid. Adinoi roi lo echser v'nois desha yar bitzeni. Al mei menuchais yinahaleni. Nafshi yishayve v'yancheni b'mag le'tzedek l'man shemai. Gam ki elech begeitz al-moves lo'irero ki atei madi. Shiftecho mishantecha heima yanachamuni. Tarech lefanai shulchan neged tzereroi Vishanta Bashem Reishi Kaisi Revoyo. Ach Toiv V'Chesed Yudefuni Kol Yemei Chayai. V'Shavti B'Veis Adinoi La'Eirech Yamin. The booklet on page 2, together in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in the straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. Thou preparest thy table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Chapter 15. Mizmer LeDavid. Adinai mi yogurt ba'alecha, yishken b'har kachecha. Hoylech tamim u'feil tzedek, v'deber emes l'vavai. Le'rogal al l'shaynai, le'asa l're'ei ura, v'cherpa le'nasa al kareibai. Nivzeh be'einav nimas, v'esirei Adinai yechabe. Nishba l'harav v'le'yamir, kaspoi le'nasan b'neshech, v'sheichad al naki le'lokav, oisa eila le'yimai la'olam. This coming Shabbos, we read in the Haftorah the famous phrase of Ud Mutzal Me'esh, a brand plucked from fire. We are here to honor an individual that is this brand plucked from fire, one of the few remaining holy special individuals, Holocaust survivor. Born 100 years ago, or to be precise, 100 years and 37 days, on November 11th, 1924, in Jeverich, I might be pronouncing it wrong, Poland, to her parents, Groner and Esther Groner, the youngest of 5 siblings. Fela attended the first Beis Yaakov girls' school, which was at the time a novelty to have a Jewish day school for girls, and had a great youth until the age of 15 or 16 years old. When the war broke out, with the horrors of the Holocaust, everything changed. She lost her entire family except for one sister, and survived Ud Mutzal Me'esh, a brand plucked from fire. But maybe more like the flame of the Hanukkah candle that we begin lighting in a few days. Because that flame of the Hanukkah candle shines bright when it's dark outside. That Hanukkah flame shears light even when there's so much negativity around. And that was the life of Fela. She made it to Israel in 1950, where she met her husband David. They lived on a kibbutz. They started a family, and George Giora was born 3 years later in 1953. In 1960, they came to Chicago, first in Albany Park, later in Skokie, and eventually in Winston Towers. And like that flame from the menorah that attracts others, Fela Tzipora, or Fela, attracted and connected with so many. She was a friendly person, made many friends wherever she was, wherever she lived. And even her son and her grandson's friends became her friends as well. And like that flame, she was also fearless, taking the bus by herself to Madison to visit Josh at school on her own. She maybe didn't stand so tall, but definitely she stood strong and powerful and shining like that flame. And like the Hanukkah flame, we light other candles. She shared with others. She shared tzedakah when she would get the envelopes from the various yeshivas. She made sure to support them. The Shabbos table, she would share the meal with family, with friends. Already Tuesday, started talking about Shabbos is coming. And I think most of all, what stood out was her love for family. She took care of her husband when he was not well, and insisted that he remain home so she could care for him properly. She spoke every day to her son, to her grandsons, and would always end the conversation with the beautiful phrase of Besorot Tovot, we should hear good tidings. It would be most appropriate that we hear from the family firsthand some reflections about this special woman. I'm going to ask Josh to first come up.
Hi. My grandma was a great woman. She spoke at least 5 languages: Polish, German, Hebrew, Yiddish, and English. And recently she went to the library where I work to go to the Polish book section, but the books were in Polish instead of Polish books, so she wasn't too happy. And I gave her the Steve Jobs book. She liked that a lot. I gave her the JFK book by Stephen King, and she thought it was a book about JFK and Jackie O. And it was a historical fiction, so she was disappointed. And I'm going to miss going to Florida and visiting my grandma. I love her very much, and I'll miss her very much.
Thank you, Josh. Cousin Alan Rosenbaum.
Everybody knew her, knew that Fela Groner was an amazing person, strong, dynamic, and there's so much that could be said. I just want to make a few comments. I remember way back when I was just graduating high school and going off to college, and all sorts of adults came to me and gave me advice, and family, friends, and everything. I remember nothing of what anybody said, except for Fela Groner. When she was at my house the last time I was at home before going to college, as she was leaving the house, she turned around, she grabbed my cheek and said, "Don't run, don't jump, don't swim." And I knew that she meant, don't do anything stupid. And I said, that was actually very good advice, and the only thing I remembered. We all grew up together, Fela, David, my parents, along with the Zorgans and the Sharmans. We all were survivors, and they formed a very tight group that really depended on each other for emotional support and to build a new life together. And so all the families were always getting together. We spent every vacation together and holidays together, Montrose Beach together, the forest reserves together. And so, in South Haven, and we felt, I felt that this was one big family, and we were also blessed that we had this kind of a support group that we grew up with. But in addition, I guess because she lived so long, she she was over 100, well, she was 100 when she died, and she had an amazing memory. And she would always tell us stories about all sorts of different things, and everybody could have tell us stories what she told about what happened in the past. So she was like, as far as I'm concerned, was our historian for my parents' generation, and was extremely valuable to me. I'm thinking when we got together for our Mishpucha picnic this July, I sat down with her and she started telling me stories about my parents that I either didn't remember or I never knew, and I was just blown away at things that she was telling me. And she was telling me things from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago and more. And said that that was really, really a special spot that she had for us. And the other thing that I would emphasize is that she loved her family, she loved her family, she loved the Jewish people, she loved Israel, and that was always obvious when you see her. But the one thing that the rabbi mentioned that I remember the most about Fela, and when I was young, and her husband David was so sick for so many years, she was so devoted to him and took such good care of him for so many years. At the time, I was much younger, I was amazed what she was able to do. I have not seen a human sacrifice, I would call it sacrifice. She didn't look at it as a sacrifice so much. And I think she has taught me a lesson that I remembered my whole life, that she cared more about the comfort of her husband than her own personal comfort. And that's how she felt about the whole family. And we'll all miss her terribly. Thank you.
Adam.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my grandmother was a great person, and that's why we're all here. Just a quick few anecdotes about how she treated us as grandkids. Every time I had any job interview or wrote my college application or had a date, the first thing she would tell me is, tell them that your grandmother's a survivor. I don't know if that was supposed to impress them or what. She's like, they'll know that you've got the good, the right principles and everything. And like Alan, thank you, great speech. She was always helping other people my whole life, whether it was helping my grandfather or helping Josh and my dad and I. She was always there for us to play kaluki or dominoes or basketball with Josh and I and our friends. She was 4 feet tall, but very impressed whenever she could make a shot. So yeah, I think a wonderful woman that really got the most out of life. And that was a hard thing for her to do. So thank you all.
That's Rabbi Epstein, the rabbi of Beis Menachem, come up and read Ashes Chayil, woman of valor, this worthy woman.
Ashes Chayil Yimsa Baruchai V'Nidnim Nichra Vatach Polei Baila V'Sholo Lo Yachzar Mlosatei V'Leira Kol Yimei Chayam Tasher Tzemeru V'Yishti B'Tas B'Chevetz Kapachol Haisechania Seichem Imerchat Tavilon Tapim Yoed Laila V'Titen Tereth V'Beisa V'Choy B'Narisa Zamasar V'Tikacheu Mipri Chapel Natakar Chabram Yoed Masnaha V'Tiametz Roisaho Tama Kitay Safra L'Yichva V'Laila Nira Del Shulcha V'Kisha V'Kapel Tapul Fall Kapra Pasli Yoni V'Yedeh Shulcha L'Yev V'Sir L'Vesa Misholek Yichal Vesa Lo B'Shoni Marvodim Asas Allah Sheish V'Argaman L'Busha V'Yed B'Sharim Baila V'Shiftay V'Ziknei Aretz Sodin Asa V'Timchor V'Chagar Nas L'Knani V'Yzol Hadal L'Busha V'Tiskak V'Yem Acharon V'Ya Pascha V'Chachma V'Seres Chesed Al V'Sheina Zefia Lichas Vesa L'Chal Atzlos L'Yisrichal Whenever Yeshua by the V'Yahalim Rabbos Manas Asacham V'At Alis Al-Kulam Sheker Achein V'Hevla Yofi Isha Yirasa Yinoi I Tis Halo Kulami Priya Deha Yaluha B'Shar Masecho A gallant woman who can find, far beyond pearls, is her worth. Her husband's heartfelt trust is in her, and he shall lack for nothing. She bestows good upon him and never harm all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is like a merchant fleet, bringing her sustenance from afar. She arises while it is yet night, and gives provision to her household and direction to her maidens. She envisions a field and acquires it from the fruit of her handwork. She plants a vineyard. With vigor she girds her loins and strengthens her arms. She discerns that her enterprise is good, her lamp does not go out by night. Her hands she stretches out to the distaff, and her palms support the spindle. She spreads out her palm to the poor and extends her hands to the destitute. She fears not snow for her household, for her entire household is clothed with scarlet wool. Fine covers she made herself, linen and purple wool are her clothing. Prominent in the gates is her husband, as he sits with the elders of the land. She makes a cloak and sells it, and deals a belt to the peddler. Strength and splendor are her raiment. She cheerfully awaits the last day. Her mouth is opened with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She oversees the ways of her household, and partakes not of the bread of laziness. Her children arise and praise her, her husband, and he lauds her. Many daughters have accomplished well, but you surpass them all. Grace is false, and beauty is vain. A woman in awe of God, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her own hands, and her deeds praise her in the gathering places.
We heard a little bit about her love and dedication for family, and as knowing the Groner family for some time, we could see that it rubbed off not just to the next generation, but to the next two generations, and it's a nachas to see how they continue their tradition of caring and supportive for each other, for the extended mishpacha, for all the Jewish people. Please rise for the Kalmali Memorial Prayer. Eil Malei Rachamim, Shechein Ba'benim, Hamzei Menucha Nechoino, Kanfei Hashchina, B'ma'alis Kedoshim U'Tairim, Kizeh Erekia, Mazhirim Es Nishmas, Vegat Yipairo, Fast Groinam Shahol Chalei Lama, Avoy Shanachnu Mispalulim, Badastoros Nishmaso, Bigadein Etei Menuchaso, Lachem Al Rachamim, Yaspira B'Sisr Knafam Li'elamim, Yitzra B'Sra Chaim Es Nishmaso, Adonai Hu Nachalaso, V'Sanoch B'Shalom Mishkah, V'Neimar Amen. God, full of compassion and dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence, and the holy levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the sky, onto the soul of Tegat Zipera, daughter of Groner and Esther, who has gone to her world, and for whose memory we pray. May her repose be in paradise. May the Master of compassion bring her under the cover of God's wings, and bind her soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be her heritage, and may she repose in a resting peace, at a resting place in peace. And let us say, Amen. Amen. May you see.
Thank you, Rabbi Moskowitz, and family and friends who shared with us today. This does conclude this portion of our service. The interment will take place at Waldheim Cemetery. Before I talk about how we're going to go there, I want to just point out that after the interment, the Shiva will begin this evening, so Sunday from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Mari will be held at 7 o'clock. The Shiva will take place in the building where George and where Fela was living, at 7141 North Kedzie in Chicago, and it's at the Winston Towers Recreation Room. Again, the times and the information are on the inside of your handouts and also on our website. Donations in Fela's memory would be greatly appreciated, made to the Telsha Yeshiva in Chicago. And again, the website and information is on the inside of your handouts. As I mentioned, the interment will take place at Waldheim For safety purposes, we are not going to ride in procession. If you are joining us at the interment, then please make sure the address that you plug into your Google Maps or whatever you have is 1700 South Harlem Avenue. So we're not entering off of Des Plaines Avenue, we are entering off of Harlem Avenue, and there will be signs once you enter into the cemetery leading you to the gravesite. So just come directly to the gravesite. We'll give a little time, certainly. It's about a 45-minute or so ride there. Okay, so we'll give people time to get there, and we'll gather directly at the gravesite. Again, enter off of Harlem Avenue. It is considered North Riverside in that area. You could also go to the website, mitzvahmemorial.com.
Mitzvahfunerals.com. Mitzvahfunerals.com.
mitzvahfunerals.com, and enter or click on View Map, where it talks about the cemetery. That
Click on Fela's website, and then you can hit the map.
Right.
Also, so everyone knows, you can get on 294 South right here at Willow Road and take that to 290 East, and then exit Harlem Avenue from the left lane, not the right. Exit Harlem Avenue from the left lane, and then once you've exited, make a right on Harlem, and then the cemetery you'll see.
At this time, the following people have been asked to serve as a pallbearer. So Fela's beloved grandsons, Joshua and Adam. In addition to Joshua and Adam, we also have Alan, Bruce, Seymour, and maybe if there's one other gentleman who would like to volunteer as a pallbearer as well. Okay. At this time, I ask if you're able to please rise. And anyone who's able to be a pallbearer, so if I called your name or if you're volunteering, step forward. And please keep your favorite memories of Fela as we escort her on her final journey. We're gonna have family.
Brianna's stuck. You're good. Step up. Step by them. Adam. Adam. One of you can be on the end.
Just put new chairs in there.
George and other friends and family are welcome.
Any of you gentlemen want to get
And other friends and family